What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your boy Chris. It's your boy Chris. It's another amazing episode of Financipation. This channel is all about making money. It's all about saving money. It's all about investing money. It's all about building generational wealth. It's all about financially emancipating yourself from generational poverty. So, in this channel, everybody, I try to give you guys the best content, the best interviews, and things of that nature because I want to change the narrative of essentially what people who look like us, how we're kind of portrayed online. And I want to talk to three amazing entrepreneurs. I guess I can say four. I'm an entrepreneur as well. And just kind of talk about just building generational wealth, financial literacy, and kind of pushing all communities forward in regards to this amazing gift of capitalism that we have in the United States and how we can use capitalism to literally enrich our children, enrich our grandchildren, and create millionaires and future billionaires down the road. Okay. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and get started. So first off, everybody, I want to say thank you for joining the channel. A lot of people I invite into Financipation, and some of them want to come on, and some of them do not. But I want to say thank you for that because you guys answered the call, and let's get started. Let's get started. So first off, ladies first. Diamond, you are the essentially the rose amongst the thorns. So I'll let you go first. Please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us who you are and brag about your amazing business. And I do not want you guys to be shy. Brag about that ish because being an entrepreneur is not easy. Go ahead.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you, first of all, Chris, for first of all staying connected, for always inviting me to these types of conversations. Whenever we get on a call, we always have such a great and insightful talk and discussion. So I'm super excited to see what will come out of all of us coming together here. So my name is Diamond Chanel, and I have been a content creator full time for the last 6 years now. I'm so used to saying 5 years, but we've turned six this year. And I really built my business. It started from the desire about talking uh, around the topics of Black excellence and talking about building generational wealth for Black people. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, to be honest, and they were real estate investors. They owned small businesses, brick and mortar stores, and I've seen a lot of trial and error. So I didn't say successful business people, but definitely business people nonetheless, in spirit and in heart and in action. And from that, I saw a lot of the struggles, especially in real estate. But the one thing that I saw was how we work together. And that was something that was really important for me to see. And there were other people as I was growing up in my community that they kind of had this like get it out the mud mindset where we have to do it independently, and it's a lot of pride in picking yourself up, where we as a family have always been so collaborative. And so those were some of the things that I want to talk about at a young age while I was in college. And then I started on Facebook. That's what I was doing. And I was helping my mother with her credit business. And then we saw, like, hold up, this digital space thing is lucrative, you know.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yes.
so we really started to take off from there. And it was learning completely trial and error. My degree is in supply chain management, so people will ask me like, "Well, did you learn this stuff in school?" And I'm like, "No, I learned this stuff just doing it by hand." And so I'm really an e-commerce strategist. I'm really a digital marketing strategist, and I specialize in helping people grow on social media and building a personal brand and doing things to generate wealth through the online space.
Nice, nice. Well, Diamond, as always, it's a pleasure having you on the channel, and I always love talking with you and just kind of rapping about businesses and how to take your business and mine to the next level. So thank you for joining. Mr. Anderson, Kenny, you are next, sir. You are next.
Yeah, it's great to be here in this amazing space this evening to not just share, but to gain inspiration from the stories that are going to be told. I started my first business 30 years ago. At the time, I was a mental health professional, and I was doing a lot of speaking and a lot of consulting. And it dawned on me one day when I was having success in that space that I was really dealing with the middle person. It's like everything that someone's asked me to do that they're paying me a fraction of the cost for, I could actually do for myself. And I could build a brand from that. So I started a sole proprietorship called Maximum Life Enhancement. And it basically focuses on business and management and educational consulting. So I've spent the last 30 years basically working with a variety of different venues in terms of corporations, academic institutions, faith-based institutions, youth-based organizations. I've done a lot of presenting at local, regional, and national conferences, which is where really gave me a great opportunity to grow and expand my network. And I did that a long time. I actually moved into higher education, did that for a period of time, and then public service. I was appointed by the mayor of my city here in Huntsville as the second multicultural affairs director for our city and served in that capacity for about 12 years. About 8 years ago, I decided to launch a nonprofit because I had started doing some philanthropy in terms of establishing endowed scholarships. And I was very fortunate to establish three endowed scholarships and wanted to have a mechanism by which people could direct funds to that particular space. And in that process, I thought I didn't want to just be involved with fundraising. I also wanted to give something back. And so I started this nonprofit, which is my second business, that is 8 years old this year. And I basically do professional development seminars. I do a lot of life coaching, and then I do philanthropy as well. I am enjoying the space. I'm enjoying the opportunities, and I love meeting people and investing in their lives to find out how we can get the maximum from everyone's journey in life.
Absolutely, absolutely. But thank you for that, Kenny. I know me and you have talked as well offline. I'm actually kind of starting to line up some of my speaking engagements because you're motivating me to kind of get into that space, and you're getting me out of my comfort zone because people have been telling me, Chris, you need to get into public speaking for years now. And I'm like, you know what? I need to start reaching out to some of these HBCUs, some of these PWIs, and get into that space about financial literacy and just financial freedom. So yeah, thank you. Glad to have you on. My boy DJ went from lifting weights and playing ball and going out to this phase of life now. So you're up next, bro. You're up
I
next.
appreciate it. First of all, I just appreciate you having me on the platform. And I feel honored to be in such a great presence of Kenny, Diamond, and Chris. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So my name is Janal Richard. I'm a tax professional here in South Florida. And I myself am blessed to be starting a nonprofit as well, Kenny. So I have 3 degrees. One of my degrees is in finance. One of them is in business management, and one of them is in human resources. So I run Mr. Taxes Pro, which is a tax firm here based in South Florida. And not only do we file taxes, but we actually help people understand money, from tax planning to tax compliance, just helping people build wealth through smarter decisions. So our focus uh, is really turning confusing tax concepts into clarity and helping clients just keep more of their money realistically.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's tax season right now, bro. So I'm pretty sure you are up to your neck in eyeballs and clients, but that's a good thing because you can probably smell the dollar bills burning right now, DJ.
Do you see them? Do you see them in here?
Yeah, I know how hard you work, man. I always respected your grind, like in the football field and in the gym, and also as an entrepreneur. So I respect that, and I don't say that about too many people who work probably as hard or harder than me. So I respect you, but I've always respected you about that,
No,
DJ.
I
So
appreciate
yeah.
that.
All right, cool. Let's keep moving. Let's keep it moving. Obviously, this is a financial channel, so let me ask you guys a very simple question. What was your first memory of money? Diamond, I'll let you go first. Ladies first. What was your first memory of money? How did it motivate you to want to become an entrepreneur?
Oh, that's really good. I would again, I would say my first memory of money has to be my family working and specifically in real estate and seeing them really navigate the dynamics of having tenants and all this other stuff, and the crazy things that happen there, and windows being broken out and fires happening, and all of this stuff, and seeing how much money had to be invested and how much money had to be put in, and them kind of having to balance that was my first real introduction to money. What that taught me was to earn money independently as something that is a way that I wanted to go. Since a very young age, my nightmare was to be in a cubicle. That was just my personal nightmare. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to live my life that way. So financial freedom and freedom of time was something that was major for me, but also having a sense of security and having a sense of ease when it came to money. And I think that that's what really drew me to the digital space, because I was able to see the amount of income that we were able to make through the leveraging of social media, through the leveraging of digital products, digital services, and that superseded anything that I saw that we did tangibly in business. But I also see those things as a safeguard of what is true. So land and real estate, that those things, that this digital space is a way to earn money to then invest in that way for security purposes. So that is my first introduction with money and kind of what I've learned from it.
Nice, nice. How about you, DJ? What was your first memory of money, bro?
Well,
Good, good or bad? Good or bad?
my first memory of money was not having it. That was my first memory,
Mine's
and my
too.
parents not having it, honestly. And it was just seeing how hard people work for money and still struggle to keep it. So that really stuck with me. And I realized early that it wasn't just income, right, that creates freedom, but it's knowledge that creates freedom, the know-how. So I knew that wanted to be an entrepreneur. The same thing as Diamond says, when you can really control the time that you have and the just being able to do what you want to do when you want to do it is much more important than just having a job.
Absolutely, absolutely. Time is money. It's interesting because you can get job offers for three or $400,000 a year. That's great money, but they want you to work 100 to 120 hours a week, and you're not have no time for your girl, not having time for your family, not having time for your kids, and that's considered the American dream. Now, I consider that just a financial debt trap that just kills you slowly over time. How about you, Mr. Anderson? How about you, Kenny? How about you? What was your first memory of money, good or bad?
I have to say that it was probably my first job in high school. I was in 11th grade, and my sister was a year older than me, and the guidance counselor gave her a job. And I was determined that I was not going to be the only person in the house who was not employed. And so I kept going to the guidance counselor's office. I don't remember how many days, weeks, or months I did, but he kept telling me no until he finally said yes. And I know I learned a valuable lesson in that about persistence. But that first job gave me my first understanding of money because my parents required me to establish a savings account. I had been talking a little bit about going to college and eventually went to Oakwood College. It was part of those savings that allowed me to experience my first experience at Oakwood. And so that was really the first time I started thinking about having money to control and make decisions about and understanding that there's value in terms of what that is and where that can take you. And then, of course, throughout life, other experiences, both highs and lows, as far as that was concerned. The only other thing I would say is that I had always heard the concept of compound interest and saving for the future. I mean, that was not a new concept in my 20s when I first got my first job, but I don't think I really leveraged that and understood that till I was probably in my 30s. And so the thing I would say to people all the time is that the lessons that you hear, the experiences that people share, take a good look at what those things are because you have a lot more time in order to be able to position yourself for success in the future if you start out early.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's interesting because the numbers they'll show you as far as a kid that invests. Right now, I have a college fund. I have a 529. I'm sorry, I have a UTMA for my son who's one, and I have another UTMA for my other son who's three. And when I start running the numbers about how much money my kids are gonna have when they're 18, I'm like, Mama and Daddy, why ain't y'all do this for me? It's because they didn't know. But 18 years of compounding interest, even if you're only putting 250 to $500 a month into it, you were setting your kids up for generational success. And that's the kind of stuff I like to talk about here on Financipation, where it's not necessarily about being smarter. It's about just working. It's not about working hard. It's working smarter. And compound interest is one of those kind of things that people of our reflection just honestly, we're not really hearing about the way that we should until channels like Financipation showed up, or channels like yours, Diamond, or people like you, DJ. It's kind of stuff that you talk about as well. If I were to say my first memory of money, it's probably the first memory a lot of us have had. Me getting in fights about people laughing about the kind of shoes that I wore, going to Payless, getting in fights about me not having a starter jacket or Tim's and nothing like that. I was like, bump that. So I got in a lot of fights growing up because I got sick and tired of people talking crap about the clothes that I wore, my brothers wore. I was always kind of bigger. They were kind of smaller. So I got into a lot of altercations about that kind of stuff, which ultimately led me to boxing and kickboxing and mixed martial arts and everything. But I started realizing quickly that okay, if I got to be at school, I need to figure out a way to make money here. So I was a candy salesman, and I sold everything from Reese's Pieces, Blow Pops, Skittles, Jolly Ranchers, and stuff like that to the point where I was selling so much candy. I actually had legit D-boys standing next to me in some of my corners selling what they were selling. I was selling the candy, and it was funny. Some of the guys were my teammates, other guys are no longer here. And it's interesting because the same skills that my teammates who were fortunately on the wrong side of capitalism as entrepreneurs were doing, I was on the right side of capitalism, and a lot of them are no longer with us. So, figure out ways to make money, people. That's a legal way, obviously, and that was my first foray of money. Financial advice. I'm gonna ask you guys a simple question. If you had a long lost relative that gave you $1 million,
Ooh.
let's start with you, DJ. How would you invest that money? Because this gives me an idea about how you kind of go about investing money. Say you had a person who gave you $1 million. How would you go about investing that money?
$1 million. Are you going to be that relative? Just tell me now. Will you be that relative that
Yeah,
gives you $1 million?
yes, for my two sons.
That's what I like to hear. Of course, I would invest it. I would invest it.
How would you
Not only
invest
would
it?
I invest it in real estate, but I'd invest it in cash flowing assets. Probably buy a few businesses. If I can, I'll probably be on vacation for the rest of my life, realistically, because these cash flowing assets is going to make me money on a regular basis. So it
Break it
replaced
down, break
my.
it down. Like with $100,000 go here, $250,000
Oh,
go
that's
here.
what you mean.
Break it down, break it down. A million, yep, break it down.
For me, I think I would probably, if I got $1 million tomorrow, I would call Chris and ask him, what do I need to do with this $1 million? If these are the ideas that I have, these are the plans that I have. I want to buy real estate. Does it have to be in South Florida? I don't think it has to be in South Florida. I think it could be throughout the nation, right? Where me personally, the plan that I have is to buy properties uh, that are foreclosed on, that we can foreclose on, and we can buy them cash. We don't have to go in and get into debt, but we can have a cash flowing asset, not just here, but anywhere in the United States. So places like Ohio, Michigan. I have a few friends of mine who have properties in Arkansas, and they've been cash flowing like crazy to the point where it's replaced their active income. So that's probably the number one thing that I would do. And then I would take another $100,000 and probably donate it to Financial so they can continue to spread the continue to spread some financial knowledge and financial literacy to our community.
I love it. Thank you, brother. I'm looking forward to that. You don't have to start with a million. You can start with like
Of,
$10,000,
of
$500.
course,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course,
You
of course.
can
Yeah.
start now. All right, the rose amongst the thorns, Diamond. How about you? If you had a long lost rich relative who gave you $1 million, how would you go about investing that money? What would you
I
do with
am
it?
going to steal DJ's answer and I'm going to come to you and to ask you, like, hey, this is what I got. Tell me what to do. I'm definitely at that point in my life where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Just tell me what to do, But my mindset would be to purchase real estate, to purchase land, if I had to break it down in percentage, I would probably do maybe 60% into investments, and then the rest of that 40% would go into a savings account, an APY savings account. It would go into handing off my money, my family, a little something here, a little something there. It would go into paying tithes because I'm very big believer into this, that God gives us everything that we have. And so the very first thing I need to do is to implant that spiritually. And from there, I would have a little bit for myself so that I could do what I'd like to do, probably purchase a home that I would love and, some other stuff that I would like to enjoy life in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it. I love it. How about you, Kenny? How would you invest? You had a long lost relative that gave you $1 million. How would you invest that? What would you do with it?
Well, first, I'm looking for that relative right now. But once I
Me
find that
too.
relative, I'm going to invest in a world-class dream team, a wealth management team.
Mm.
That team would include a financial manager. That team would include an attorney, an accountant. They would be the absolute best, wherever they might be, in terms of providing me with direction and advice on a variety of things. Then I would actually, in terms of if I had to break down some of the costs, I already said I started out by saying I have three academic scholarships that are endowed. Those are fully endowed, but I'm also establishing two additional ones right now. So I would finish out those two endowments. I would start a sixth one because I have endowments at four of the schools here now in Huntsville, but I want to do a fifth one at UAH at some point. I would absolutely invest in some land because I know that is an extremely valuable asset. It's the gift that keeps on giving. And then I would also think about specific investments, not just real estate, but also things like those mini storages that I see building everywhere because people just don't have enough space to put things anymore. Those things are booming. And I know that they are always full. And because they're always full, it means that there's a huge source of income there. And so I would think about those kinds of strategic investments to make where I'd be getting a great return on my investment.
Absolutely, absolutely. Whenever people ask me this question, I like asking it because if I ask you direct, okay, how would you, what advice do you have about $1 million? You always get weird answers. But when you tangibly say, okay, somebody gives you $1 million, what would you do with it? You get a vastly better response. If I were to do this, I would take $50,000 and immediately throw it into a high interest account. And the reason why I would say 50 stacks is because you want to put in a high interest account, not that gives you an APY typically above 4%. That way you get a much better return than throwing into a whack brick and mortar store that maybe gives you 0.01%. So $50,000 immediately go into a high interest account. From there, I'll put $100,000 into a tithe or a charity, either a church or a charity that I really cared a lot about, because I do believe that when you give God his money, when you help people, he basically gives it back to you tenfold. I'll put about $350,000 into some kind of real estate asset, whether it was a house that was foreclosed, like DJ said, or a house that basically I would just buy it, rehab it, refinance it, and then rent it out to people and make it a cash flowing asset. My wife would probably want a house that she could like physically live in, but I'll be, babe, let's just do this for now. Make about $4,000 or $5,000 a month off of it, and then we can buy a real house down the road. I would have to convince her about that. Additionally, I'll put about $400,000 into either a brokerage account or some form of Roth IRA, HSA, and a 401k over the duration of about a 7 to 10 year period, because that's the most tax efficient account. But it would probably kind of hard to just leave about $400,000 just laying around in two or three different high interest accounts to do that over a 7 year period. So probably I'll have to throw into a brokerage account that would, and from there I would just invest in the total stock market index funds that basically give me about 10 to 12% every year. And lastly, I had two sons, so I'll give $100,000 to both of them. So $50,000 will go into one of their probably most likely UTMAs, and that way when they turned 18, they would have a very large amount if you have the amount of money they currently have in there, plus $50,000 of compound interest over 18 years with me putting $500 a month into it. So that's how I personally would invest if I had a long lost relative. God, please send me one that gives me a million stacks. That's how I look at it. Very diverse. You have your income in there. So you have your property in there. You have your land. You have your real estate. You'd have your kids would be set up for life. And on top of that, you also would have your own liquid cash that you could basically throw if you had an insanely good deal to pop up with land, as you said, Kenny, or some kind of startup DJ like you talked about, or Diamond, some kind of other business deal that literally just kind of fell from the heavens. So yeah, that's how I'll go about doing that. One of the things that has kind of historically always happened in America to people who look like us is a little different now, but historically, if you think about the Rosewoods, if you think about the St. Louis massacres, if you think about the Tulsa, Oklahomas and stuff like that, was that a lot of times we had significant black progress in the United States of America. Unfortunately, the powers that be that look like the individuals that look like this wall, they would do dastardly things to destroy it. And one of the things that would happen a lot of times was black businesses got destroyed. I've always personally thought that in this amazing gift of America, we have this gift called capitalism. And in capitalism, you have businesses. So all four of us are business owners. And I'll just cut right to the chase. How do we, as people of color, as minorities, get more black people to start businesses? Because I tell everybody, I don't care whether you work in corporate or whether you work 100% for yourself. Everybody in America, regardless of your skin color, needs to have a business that they are working at least 15 to 20 hours a week in addition to the corporate American salary. So how in the world do we get more of our people to start businesses? Kenny, I'll start with you for that question.
Just a few things, quick things come to my mind. Number one, you need a mentor. You need somebody who knows the journey and will walk with you and really pour into you in a very powerful way. I think we need to demystify what I call the myth of four-year colleges, that's the only way to get a degree. I think people need to focus on two-year schools and get certificates and training in the trades and come out. I know I always say that my barber charges 25, 30, 35 a cut. And if he cuts 10 to 15, 20, 25 heads a day, I'm just doing the math and saying, hey, that's a great direction to go on for people. So I think we need to really help people understand that there are opportunities within those particular areas to own your own business, to make as much money as you need to, and provide a good foundation for your family. And then I think we need to have community conversations about this thing. And we need to take it to where people are. We need to go to the faith communities. We need to go to our academic institutions, especially our HBCUs, but wherever people are, we need to talk to people in our, not just our high schools, but our middle schools, because that's when they first begin getting that idea about what they want to be when they go to college and what they want to do. And they start getting these ideas about what works and what fits for them. We got to get them a lot earlier than that.
Absolutely, absolutely. DJ, you're next. How do we motivate more people of color to start businesses and to become entrepreneurs?
Just want to give some kudos to you, Kenny. I love that
Yeah,
answer,
I agree.
brother. For me, just looking at it from a tax standpoint, just showing how important it is to start a business. You're literally in a different category when you're a business owner because the tax code was made for people like you. It was made for investors. It was made for business owners because in part you're really um, you are in partnership with the government. You're creating opportunity. They don't have to feed you. You can feed yourself essentially. So not only does it help you save money, but if you're saving money, that you can make money. So just a quick example, by starting a business as a, let's say for instance, you have a W-2, you're making $50,000 and you pay $6,000 or $7,000 with your into the W-2. If you have a side business and you're working 15, 20 hours a week, like you say, and you may not necessarily be making profit right away, if you put yourself in position to be a business owner, have an LLC, have everything in place, you have your articles of incorporation, your business account, and you keep track of all of your expenses, all of those are write-offs. All of those are little write-offs. And what that does, it offsets the income that you make as a W-2 employee, and it gives you a much bigger tax return. And you can use that same tax return to invest. You can use that same tax return to put down on a house. You can use that same tax return to put into accounts that's going to help your money grow over time. So I think really just educating and showing that we can use these different resources to really tap in.
Absolutely. I love that. Kenny, you talked about starting trades and going to the trades, which I've always been a huge fan of. And DJ, I like how you said that just the entire US tax code is literally geared toward the business owner. You can get, if you like playing football or basketball or boxing or any sport, you can get mad at the rules of the game, or you can learn the rules of the game and dominate. And regardless of where you stand on the political aisle, everybody, the tax codes are literally written for business owners. So start a business, just like DJ said, start that EIN number, go to LegalZoom.com, do what you need to do to start your business. And lastly, Diamond, say the best for last. What can we do to motivate people to start business? I want to see, I'll cut right to the chase. I want to see more Black entrepreneurs and more Black people in the hood, from the hood, in the suburbs, creating businesses and creating opportunities for their kids and for their family members.
Well, I loved all the answers that everyone gave here. I wholeheartedly agree with Kenny's answer about education and doing the 2 year, especially for a lot of people. If you don't need to do the 4 year route, don't do it, and make the smart decision and do the trades and things of that nature. I also love what DJ said. I'm going to have a little bit of a controversial take, I guess, here, but I don't believe that everybody should be a business owner whatsoever. I don't believe it's for everyone.
I agree.
It's very difficult, you know what I mean? And I think people have to evaluate what they want out of life. And if you want strictly stability, then a job might be the best route for you because there's not always stability in owning a business. And there's ups and there's downs, and you have to eat what you kill. And that ain't for everybody. It's a difficult thing to do. It really is difficult. What I would say though, I think that everybody should be looking to passive income and how they can invest, how they can have their money build and compound. And I think, Chris, that's what you talk about so greatly here is those different avenues of how can I, when I do have some money, in whatever way that I get that money, how do I safeguard that money and actually have it grow for me? And another thing is I believe that because I believe that God calls specific people to be leaders in certain realms. And I think that the leadership pool is a smaller pool than it is for the people to follow. And I think that the ones that are in leadership positions should more so look at what can we do more for our community to help our people in ways. And sometimes that's not always them being an entrepreneur, but maybe what resources and education can we give them in different areas so that they can flourish in that way. But I do believe that, and I also have a book called From Ain't to Income, because I do believe that we all have God-given skills and unique talents that He's given us for our own provision. And so there is things that everybody can do and that they're good at, but in whatever avenue they do that in is up to them. But I think leaders, we need to figure out how can we support our community even beyond wanting them to be entrepreneurs, but how do we, with our resources, give back in that way? So that would be my answer.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. Just to piggyback off of what DJ was saying a little earlier as well. So let's say you are a bit Diamond, you kind of touched on it as well. If you're a business owner, there's this phenomenal tool called the SEP IRA. SEP IRA. And in that particular tax efficient account that's only available to EIN holders, and it's also available to people who work W-2 jobs. So to everybody that's listening, if you work in full-time in corporate America, the SEP IRA is available for you. So this powerful tool allows you to essentially invest $72,000, 72 stacks every year if you are a business owner, if you can prove the IRS that you made $72,000 in your business. So for indication of that, if you invest $72,000 every year into an index fund, to a mutual fund, to an ETF that basically returns 11%, you will be a millionaire in less than 8 years. So think about that for a minute. So if you work in corporate America or you work for yourself full time 100%, if you figure out a way and your business is so successful that you can invest $72,000 a year into a SEP IRA, and you invest it into the right index funds and you invest it into the stock market, you will be a millionaire in less than 8 years. So I say that because if you do not own a business, those kinds of things are not available for you. Not to mention the fact if you own a business and you run it out of your home, you can essentially write off the real estate that you run it from. In America, if you own a business, people, you pay your taxes last and you get to spend your money first. But for the W-2 employees, you have to pay your taxes first and then you get to spend your money last. So the entire games of the rules, as people, we gotta learn the rules of the game because that's essentially how you build generational wealth. And Diamond, I love what you said as well. I do truly believe that everybody's built to be an entrepreneur, but I think until you kind of get into the game and figure out, you may not realize that you actually are an entrepreneur. I can tell you this: I was never really into the grass and nothing like that. Even though I played sports my entire life, a lot of my teammates did it for pain. But if you own a business, it's literally like being flying planes, like literally for perpetuity, because you're that amped about your business. It's like having a kid. Somebody talks crap about emancipation, I want to fight them, just like somebody talks crap about one of my two kids, because this is my puppy, this is my baby. And if you're a business owner and you find something that you love to do, and something you think God put you on this planet to do, it's literally like being essentially HIGH for that particular period of time because you love your business that much. Kenny, I know how happy you are about your business. Diamond, I can tell how happy you are about your business, how much you bragged about when we met at FinCon. And DJ, I've known you for over a decade, bro. I know how proud you are about your business as well. So anybody that's listening, start a business. It's something that you're passionate about, something that you love. Because if you do, it's literally like having a kid and you talk a language that no one else understands. When I go to entrepreneur events and financial literacy events with business owners, we're all a bunch of nerds talking a language that only entrepreneurs understand. It's the dopest feeling in the world. It don't matter whether you're black, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're white, it does not matter. Business ownership, everybody, it is literally a language that sets your soul on fire, makes you want to get out of bed. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Diamond, you talked about this a little bit earlier. What are some of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur? And more importantly, what advice would you give anybody who actually is struggling in their business right now, I would say?
Well, I think the biggest part about, or the most difficult part of being an entrepreneur is within the definition of entrepreneurship, which is that you take on all risk, and that all outcomes and all risks and all consequences go to you. And even if you hire people, you got to really switch your mindset to if they make a mistake, it's still on you, because then that means that maybe I didn't. I've had situations where you have assistants and big mistakes happen, and you can't tell the customer, oh, I'm sorry, it was my assistant that did it. No, it's you. And if there's a failure there, then there was a failure of leadership on that role that needs to be fixed and rearranged. And so accountability, financially, emotionally, physically, in every aspect is very, very difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people struggle with taking self-accountability, with taking accountability in so many different areas. So that is really, really a difficult part. If somebody is struggling in their business, it depends on in what way are they struggling in their business, because struggles are different. There's financial struggles. If you're struggling financially, I do believe that maybe you should maybe get a job for a second and find out a way to support the business. Because with me, my thing is always I need to have some form of stability and have some cash flow coming in and have multiple streams of income. So if I had to get a job and have a business, well, then those are still two streams of income. I think that there's so many business owners, and we've seen it within the past couple of years, that are so reluctant to go back to work and do what they have to do and then rebuild. Um, but whatever the struggle is it struggle of time, then you need to learn a little bit more trust and less control issues, because a lot of us business owners tend to have that control problem where we hold on really tightly and we don't think somebody can do what we can do as good as we can. But those are usually the two biggest things. It's going to be a financial, or it's going to be a we're too much of a control over the baby that we have, and we have to let go and allow somebody else to take over certain parts so that we can have rest and you're not a complete employee or a slave in your own business, because that defeats the purpose.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me ask you, let's change it up a little bit. Obviously, we're all people of color. Racism and sexism in corporate America and as entrepreneurs. I'll start with you on this one, Kenny. You are the elder statesman among us. Have you ever experienced it? And more importantly, how did you get around it, whether it was corporate America or as an entrepreneur?
Yes, absolutely have experienced it. And I think that the ability to confront it really comes with a little bit of wisdom, as well as the opportunity to take some time to assess what has happened. I think that when people understand that patience is important in the growth process, when they understand that one's perspective is important in terms of how you respond to things and how you go about acting on certain things, all of those things become a part of what happens in those situations. The biggest challenge that I think I've found is what I call the challenge of white male fragility. And what that is that I have run across one situation after another where my intelligence, my academic credentials, my ability to get along with people, my competence, and my effectiveness have been a threat to a white male supervisor or other people in my space. Instead of looking at me as an asset, they've looked at me as a threat. Or they've looked at me as somebody who didn't necessarily earn or deserve the position that I was in. And I always had to prove myself to them. Well, here's where wisdom comes in. I don't have to prove myself to anybody. If I'm in the room, I've earned my place to be in the room. And all I'm going to do is demonstrate that consistency. And you can take it or leave it. I mean, you can make it an asset. You can believe in it. You can support it if you want. But I'm not going to think down about myself or doubt myself because of someone else's insecurities about me. So it's a reality. It's something you confront all the time. But I always tell people just take a deep breath. Don't just react, process, think, consult with somebody, get some direction, pull back for just a moment before you engage.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Thank you, sir. Thank you. DJ, how about yourself, bro? Have you ever experienced racism in corporate America or as an entrepreneur? And if so, how did you go about getting around it? And what advice would you give
Uh,
people who are dealing with it?
Not so much sexism, because we know America is mainly manly driven, not so much sexism, but I would definitely say racism. I mean, I've experienced the bias, but haven't let it define me or my ceiling. For me, I would think that you want to put yourself in a position to have undeniable skills. Like, just like Kenny said, can this person do what you're asking them to do? Do they have the competence? Do they have the certifications? Are they intelligent? Document everything. You want to make sure that you document everything. And sometimes you may not have a seat at the table. You might have to build your own table.
Yeah.
So there's going to be those times too. So it's always important to build your network, just like how we have here. Everybody's in a different industry, everybody's in a different space, but we are all experts in our own domain. So I think those tools are really good to have as well, because you never know who is going to need you, or what I should say, you never know what your network can bring you, essentially.
Mhm.
I love that. I love that. And lastly, how about you, Diamond? Have you ever experienced racism or sexism in corporate America or as an entrepreneur? And if so, more importantly, how did you get around it? And what advice would you give other women who are dealing with both?
So I'm going to be honest and say I don't think that I have overtly experienced racism or sexism in the spaces that I've been in. That could be just due to where I grew up. I grew up in the North, so it's pretty integrated, and there's a lot of. I grew up in a very multicultural environment, and so I think that I also maybe not be as conscious to those things because I kind of don't put it in the forefront of my mind as much. But I will also say that as being a woman and being a Black woman, um, maybe controversial to say, but I believe that we have it a bit easier than Black men do in these types of spaces because as a woman, you kind of are granted a little bit more grace. You're kind of granted a little bit more softness, and you can kind of get into, and if you're easy on the eyes, you can kind of get into different spaces. without a lot of resistance. And so I have been blessed to have that type of favor where I haven't really experienced much friction for me in other places. And I will say that it is much more difficult for Black men so to do so. So I do, that's what I would say to Black women all the time. Like, there's no better time to be a Black woman than right now. Even if you are the token Black woman, you're still given the opportunity and you need to make the most of that opportunity. So I always look at take your disadvantage and make it your advantage, but I'm also looking at that from the eyes of a woman and having a little bit more privilege in that type of space. So that would be my stance on it.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said, Diamond. It's interesting because you guys basically talked about so many different concepts in there that we can unpack. First and foremost, just like you said, Kenneth and DJ, being excellent at what you do. 99% of the time, I'm the only guy who looks like me in the spaces that I'm in. And people typically immediately think I don't deserve to be there, I should not be there. But if you look at my academic pedigree, I'm typically more educated than 90% of the engineers that I run across in every environment that I'm in. But I'm the guy that's not supposed to be there, so I have to prove that I belong. And quickly, what ends up happening is that when people see my intelligence, they see my work ethic, see how hard I work when I'm there, and more importantly, the results that I give them, they kind of leave me alone. Having said that, I've also been in situations where, as a 6'2", 200-pound Black guy who's relatively ripped and relatively in phenomenal shape, I am to some extent, physical threat to some of the individuals that I've worked with. Kenny, you talked about that a little bit earlier. So there's different things that I have learned to do in order to, quote unquote, not come across as, I don't want to say aggressive, but certainly I've learned to kind of do to kind of say, yeah, Chris is cool. And I'll give you two examples. I had one situation where a cousin of mine, well, a family of mine got incarcerated the night before for something not that was completely ridiculous. And the fact that he's still in prison today kind of ticks our entire family off. Well, there was an individual who had been messing with me kind of like last month. I was kind of ignoring it. And after my cousin got incarcerated, the next day I was at work and this guy said something crazy to me. And I absolutely went off on this dude, like completely lost my cool and everything. So the next day I got a call to the VP of the company and he made it extremely clear that if I act like that again, I'll be in some serious trouble. About a month later, I was on a job site and one of my subordinates literally physically tried to fight me. And what's interesting is that I knew for a fact that I boxed semi-professionally and done martial arts and fought in cages and rings for like the last 20 years. So I can, if I needed to defend myself, I can do that. But this time I was like, you know what? I think about how I handled that last situation. Let me handle this one a little bit differently. So basically, I talked the guy down. We figured out what the issue was, and by the end of the altercation, the dude was apologizing to me and everything. So on one situation, I lost my cool, and and I gave them the moron exactly what he wanted. And the other situation, I kept my cool, and that did not happen. And that's the kind of stupid little things that we have to deal with as minorities in this country. Because if the roles were reversed, if I had came at a superintendent like that, the way that guy came at me, I would have probably been carried away in handcuffs. This guy got a slap on the wrist. Whereas the other time where I did lose on the guy, if situations were reversed, I probably wouldn't have got a call to anything. And that's the unfortunate duality of what we live at in America. It's not fair, but it is what it is. And the advice I give anybody is that, just like DJ said, document everything. First and foremost. Secondly, be better than your competition. Get those degrees, get those certifications, get in early, learn your craft to the point where you are the undeniable expert in your field. And the last example I give you is this. I was once working for a company and they completely lied to me about exactly what I'll be doing. So I called the VP of the arrival and said, look, I made a mistake. I want to come work for you. When can I start? The guy said Monday. And I just literally walked away from a six-figure job, went to another six-figure job in less than 48 hours. I thank God for that. But the reason why I'm in that situation, in addition to Jesus, is because I worked my balls off. I'm extremely good at what I do, and I have the credentials that do that. So to me, education is the great equalizer. I don't care how you look at it. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. All right, let's switch it up a little bit. Some time after dark kind of talk. So, what role does dating the right person or marrying the right person play in your success and financial independence and being an entrepreneur? Kenny, I'll let you go first. You've been married the longest out of anybody on this panel.
Uh, all right. I think that when it comes to having a life partner, as I do, my wife and I have been married for 25 years. Um, it you have to have alignment in terms of your financial values and your financial goals. So, and this is something you have to talk about. It's much worse to discover these things than it is to proactively engage in these kinds of things. So, whether you do that, do premarital counseling, which I highly recommend for couples, and a minimum of 3 months of that to really kind of work through a bunch of different things, but also it should be a continuous conversation. I mean, things like the tensions that are often created between spouses as it relates to inequity in income. So, somebody's wife makes more than they do. I love it when my wife has made more than me. I'm retired now, but I think she made more than me for about 10 years of that marriage. But the checks come to the Anderson home. The finances and the budget are built around the Andersons' home. And it doesn't mean that I take from her. It means that we have an understanding and an agreement about the value of money and the responsibility that comes with it. And so that's what I think. You can't just do it in silence. You can't live in a silo. You have to have some accountability to some extent, not so much permission, although there are some things that will require permission. Um, but there needs to be alignment. And I think that that couple needs to be moving together in lockstep as far as that's concerned. And the other thing I'll say real quickly is be honest if you make a mistake in judgment about some financial thing. Just talk about it and admit the fact that maybe I was wrong. Maybe I didn't think deeply enough about it. Maybe I jumped the gun on this thing. And let's maybe move in a different direction the next time.
I love that. I love that. 25 years in the game. That's a beautiful thing, Kenny. And I wish more our people, we need to see more of that because 99% of my friends are divorced now, and I don't know, it's kind of sad. Marriage equals wealth. I truly believe any community that stays married, those are the communities that are wealthiest in America. The Arab community and the Asian community, they stay married. All right, DJ, yourself, brother. As far as this dating the right women and stuff like that, how does that help or hurt your business?
It it matters a lot to say the least. And I would love if I found somebody that made more than me.
Oh,
I would,
absolutely.
oh yeah. Oh yeah, we're having a good time. Then we're definitely having a good time. But I think just the wrong partner can really drain your focus, can really drain your finances, and can drain your energy,
Mm.
Mm.
realistically. And the right one is going to support your vision, going to support your grind, and is going to hold you accountable. So we know that entrepreneurship is really, really hard. There's going to be some great months. There's going to be some months where you might not even make anything. So your relationship, it shouldn't be chaotic. It should have stability. So it it really depends on who you want to be as a person that's going to accept you for who you are in that space. And me personally, I haven't found someone like that yet, but I hope to one day. And that particular person is going to help you excel or is going to take away from you. That's what I believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Lastly, the rose amongst the thorns, Diamond. What role does dating the right people play in regards to your success as an entrepreneur and in financial independence and building generational wealth?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to navigate that answer. It's a huge role because, like everyone said here, that the partner that you choose, they get a lot of your focus, they get a lot of your attention, and so they have to be able to either uphold you, to support you, to work with you. And one thing that I learned in dating is that alignment, as you said, Kenny, which is the perfect word, alignment is so much better than chemistry and making sure
Mhm.
that we are compatible, not in just the sparks that are flying, but compatible in where we're trying to take life and where we see life. And I think those are conversations that you should have very early on. How do you deal with finances? What does finances look for you like for you? As a woman, I have to, ask questions. Okay, what do you expect me to add to you in that space? Because I don't want to be with a man at this point where I'm making more money than I've been there, done that. It didn't work out too well because. So I think that okay, what would you like me to contribute? These types of conversations. If we end up living together, you want me to take care of the groceries? I can take care of the groceries. You take care of the rest. And I don't think that there's a right or wrong answer to that. I think it's just about what's compatible for you and do we both have the flexibility and are we agile that when life changes that those roles can shift and we can still be okay with one another and our pride and our ego can be put aside and we can work together. And because there's not, I think that that's a partnership and not everybody wants a partnership in their marriage. And I think that if you want partnership, then you should discuss what partnership looks like. And that's extremely important. So
Got you, got you. Quick question, Diamond. When you said a guy that makes, if you were dating an electrician or a plumber that made, I don't know, let's say $100,000, and he was perfectly comfortable with that, would you be comfortable giving that brother a shot or giving him a chance if he made quote unquote less than you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As long I don't think it's about the money. I think it's about, do you have a anchored sense of self and where you're going and where your purpose is? Because I think that a man that doesn't know where he's going can drag you to hell because he don't know where he's going, you know? So you want to, it's not about a dollar amount. And also I learned that a man making a lot of money doesn't mean that he's a generous man. That doesn't mean that he's a kind man. That doesn't mean he's a gentleman. And so you want to find those right combinations. And again, I look for partnerships. I want to know, are we a partner? Like, can you be a partner to me? Can I be a partner to you? And yeah.
Absolutely,
Wow.
absolutely. Wow, wow. Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's funny because all three of the guys, when we said that, would you date a woman that makes more money? Every last one was like, absolutely, yes. Like I'm extremely comfortable with my manhood. My wife would say I'm a quote unquote alpha male. I'm all into all that kind of stuff. Baby,
Mhm.
please make more money than me. I honestly, that does not bother me in the least. We can live on your salary and invest my very nice salary and create our grandchildren will be taken care of. So to the ladies that are listening, I can't speak for our brothers, but for those of us who actually have grinded and worked our balls off to get to senior level statuses in corporate America, or who worked 100 hours a week for our business and as entrepreneurs, that issue is tiring. So if you meet an attractive woman who's fit, feminine, friendly, takes care of her body, and she treats you like a god, and you treat her like a goddess, and she happens to make more money than you and does not disrespect you, ladies, we love that. It does not make us feel insecure in any way, shape, form, or fashion.
Oh,
So yeah. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. Let's change it up a little bit, okay? So one of the I don't say alarming, but one of the things I'm kind of finding in my dabbles as being a financial coach and stuff like that is I run across a lot of multimillionaire, decamillionaire, younger black people like us who are basically decamillionaires in their early 30s. They're doing very well for themselves and they want nothing to do with living in the United States of America. They are all literally moving abroad. I can't say how many how many content creators and multimillionaires I met at FinCon who I looked them up now. They live in Mali or Portugal or Ghana or Colombia or the Dominican Republic or Jamaica, and stuff like that. So I guess my question is this: with the rising cost of housing, healthcare, college costs, race riots in America, ICE riots, ICE shootings, the growing movement among a lot of Americans, particularly people of color, is that the only way to truly get the American dream is to leave America. My question to you all is this. Do you think that as minority professionals, we should honestly start looking abroad? Because the people I know who have moved abroad, they are loving life right now. They got about 10 to $15 million. They're raising kids that are under 5, and their kids say they don't have to deal with the same kind of isms that a lot of us deal with here in the United States. Kenny, I'll let you go with this one first, sir.
yeah, I love the idea that people have begun to do that type of thing because, of course, I've grown up in America where there's been this sort of central focus on being American and living in America, and this is the all or none. And the reality is that it's a big world out there. It's a global environment. It's a global society, especially if you're an entrepreneur or especially if you're a person of means. I mean, it's like, why not? Uh, Venture out and do something different. I've been amazed in my own experience. I have friends now who've left the United States who were born here, who live in places like Ecuador, Costa Rica, the Gambia, Portugal, France. I mean, they're living all over the world now, and I mean, they're comfortable. I know two that have brought their families with them, meaning their mothers and grandchildren. And so I'm like, this is interesting to kind of see this kind of energy and to see that it's happening right now. I love the idea. What I hope doesn't happen is that a drag occurs, meaning that when they leave, they take everything with them. So there's no legacy that's left behind. If there are things that they can establish, if there are things that they can pour into, if there are things that they can build to either continue the thing that they started here or build a bridge between where they are now and what they've left behind, I think that's a very smart way to approach it and a very conscientious way to approach it. I love the idea.
Got you. How about yourself, DJ? What are your thoughts on like multimillionaire, young, under 40, Black, Asian, Latino, and even white Americans basically leaving the United States of America for due to expensive housing, healthcare issues, rioting, civil unrest, that kind of stuff. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think it's a good idea for us to raise our families abroad? What are your take on it and stuff like that?
You know me very well. You know I like to travel. You know I like to live life. Was seven or eight countries last year. After the tax season, I'm out of here, right? So I understand it. I understand it completely. I see it. I see it on a day to day. So people are running from the rising costs, the stress, the just the uncertainty of it all. Um, and for me, it's they're seeking affordability, right? And it's not to say that things are massively expensive, and they're not running away from America. They're just choosing a better quality of life. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm probably gonna be one of those people too. Uh, Once we get to a place where we establish our wealth, then we can decide wherever we want to go. So it's not a bad feat at all, realistically, because America is in chaos right now. But I also do think that America is one of the best places to make money, though, because
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
you can literally become a millionaire next week if
We
you put
got
the right pieces in place.
we got 15% of the world's population. Like one out of every nine Americans is a millionaire. And this is I always say, regardless of whether you stand on the political aisle, this is the greatest country in the world when it comes to making money.
Right.
So I agree 1,000,000% with that, DJ, 1,000,000% with that. How about yourself, Diamond? A lot of us are leaving the country. A lot of us are going abroad. A lot of us are raising our children abroad under five. I meet so many young black millionaire, Asian, Latino, and black Americans that are doing that. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we should potentially leave America and raise our families abroad? What's your take on that, I guess?
I think it's very interesting. I'll be honest to say I don't have a major opinion on it. I do think it's like a different like a exodus that's happening in America for sure, where a lot of people are leaving. And I completely understand why. I think for myself personally, if I had to give up my citizenship, I wouldn't give up my American citizenship, but would I purchase property somewhere else and like, live there for 6 months, come back and forth? Yeah, I could do that whole thing. Other than that, I think that everybody, needs to make the best decisions for their family. Me personally, I need to stay grounded to my family and wherever they are, and that's kind of I will ride the wave of whatever that is to make sure that they're, I have connection to them. But I do enjoy traveling, and I think that that would be cool to own different property, to own land, and to have a way that if things really go bad, to have somewhere to run to for sure, 100%. But that's my opinion on it. I don't have much to say about it.
I love it. I love it. As a mechanical engineer with his MBA, I get job offers quite often to go abroad and stuff like that. I've never had the right opportunity, never had the right visa sponsored, that kind of stuff. But it does kind of cross my mind because I have lived abroad, I've traveled abroad, I've had opportunities to work abroad. And I always tell people this story. Whenever I go abroad, I can't explain it, but it's honestly like a 400-pound person gets off of me. Like you don't experience the same isms overseas. If I'm walking around the projects in Amsterdam or walking around the quote unquote hood in Portugal, I'm walking around a multi-million-dollar estate like in Europe somewhere, or I'm walking around an extremely nice place in Latin America, I don't get bothered. People look at me as an asset. And I always tell this to a lot of black Americans, especially particularly black American men. When you go abroad, the way people look at you, if you carry yourself, if you're educated and you take care of your body, you are a walking enigma to them because you're not the image of what they see. And as a result of that, they're like, "Who are you? I want to know more about you." That is whether I'm in Toronto, whether I'm in South America, whether I'm in Bogota, whether I'm in Singapore, whether I was in Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Utrecht, Switzerland, Zurich. It doesn't matter. Whether I'm in Paris. When you go abroad and you are a minority, you're a Black American, you get treated, and I hate to say this, Ish, I really do, but you get treated so much better than you do in America. And I love America. This is the country I love. I'm always a rock for I almost served in the military and fought for this country. So I love America and I always will. But unfortunately, there's a part of America that will never love me. He'll never love us. And I wish that that part of America would disappear and America would become more like the Torontos. It would become more like the Rotterdams. It would become more like the Singapores because diversity, I don't care how you look at it, it makes any community, any army, any sports team, it makes us better. And that's kind of what I would like. And I agree with you, Diamond. If I do decide to go abroad, DJ, because I love to travel. Reba, she loves to travel as well. I could definitely see myself buying a couple properties abroad. And I could definitely see myself keeping my citizenship in the United States if I ever needed to get back. But I won't lie, Dubai has come calling. Singapore has come calling. Toronto has come calling. If I looked in Latin America, that comes calling as well. So I really hope America kind of wakes up because at some point people are not going to stay in an abusive relationship. And if you're a black American like we are, you know for a fact this has already kind of to some extent happened. At one point, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, and Florida had 90% of the black population. And a lot of those states now, particularly like the Mississippis, particularly like the Louisianas, particularly like the South Carolinas, those are the lowest GDP states in the United States of America. Why? Because the best and the brightest Black Americans, the best and the brightest, most entrepreneurial ones, we got up and left, just like my grandparents did. And we ended up in the Chicagos, the Philadelphias, the DCs, the Atlantas, the Los Angeles, the Portlands. And if America doesn't get its act together, we're not going to just go from the south to the north. We're going to go from America to China. We're going to go to America to Singapore. And once you go abroad and you see how you get treated, it's very hard to come back to America and be comfortable being treated like a second-class citizen. So yeah, keep it moving, keep it moving. We as entrepreneurs and professionals, what can we do to increase financial literacy in our community? Because I'm just kind of listening to the things you guys are talking about in this podcast, and all of you guys are killing it as far as like property, land, real estate, stock market investing. So DJ, let's start with you first. What can we do as entrepreneurs and as professionals do to increase financial literacy in the community?
Uh, Aside from what we're doing right now, right? Because I think this is really important. Just speaking about it, starting a conversation. We need to normalize money conversations, right?
Absolutely.
We need to teach taxes, what does tax code mean? How does it benefit us? We need to talk about credit and what's on your credit profile. What does your credit profile mean? How does it really benefit you? Investing, starting a business early or starting a business in general, and just stop shaming people for not knowing these things and actually start educating them. And really just support Black owned, Black professionals in in the things that they do, because ultimately it's gonna affect our community at the end of the day. So those are the things that I think.
I love it. I love it. How about
Focus on.
yourself? How about yourself, Diamond? How do we as entrepreneurs and as professionals, what can we do to increase financial literacy in our communities, I guess?
I highly believe in going into the school systems, and then the enrichment programs to go into our churches and wherever we are that will allow us in to talk about these types of topics. Something me and my mom were talking about before was that even with her credit education, trying to bring it into churches, that there's a lot of resistance there, and it's very difficult to even get
Oh,
into that and
yes.
to tell people about how do you build your credit? How do you leverage your credit? How do you do those things? And there's so many of our organizations where I just feel as though we need to get into spaces where our own people are at, because even with the educational system, there's only so much you're going to do when it comes to these universities that are kind of already stuck in their ways. They don't want to change their curriculum. They don't really have much of a incentive to really teach you something and to make sure that the working class people actually have the information that they need to be successful. But for an example, when I was in college, I worked in the inner cities of Newark, New Jersey, and they had an enrichment, or what is it called? A charter school. Charter school, and they had enrichment programs, and they called me in to teach, because at the time I was into the business of fashion. And so they called me in to teach the young women how to build fashion businesses and how to build e-commerce businesses and something like that. I mean, I was just teaching them the bare basics of what does it mean? How do you create profit? You know what I mean? And just giving them that equation of profit is revenue minus expenses, then you have a profit. And trying to just give them that mindset that as they go out into the world, they can look at money differently. And I think that if we insert ourselves or we get in partnership and collaboration to be able to educate the youth, specifically around that high school time or in that college area. So the ones that are going to be the very next working force class, to give them that mindset of entrepreneurship and to understand how to multiply their money and have their money work for them and to get into our organizations. And I think that there's a big wave of homeschooling that is coming in too. And so I think just building a collaborative network to make sure that we give our children this education as this move is going, where it's like a freedom of education right now. So,
Absolutely. If you take a look at what they're doing to our public schools, it's criminal. I mean, you can't even watch Roots anymore. It's insane to me. Or Glory. How about yourself, Kenny? What can we as Black professionals and entrepreneurs do to increase financial literacy in our communities and in our schools?
Yeah, Diamond said it all. I think that the whole notion of both collaboration and education are the key. And you place those two things at the core of your efforts, you have great opportunities. So the way I kind of see that playing out in a community, all financial institutions have a financial literacy mandate. And a lot of people don't know that. but they have to provide some kind of financial literacy education to their communities as a part of a federal piece of legislation. Not only that, but they'll also come alongside sometimes and provide financial literacy kits, financial literacy training. And I think that if we reach out and partner with them, and as Diamond said, we combine the faith communities, which are resistant to these kinds of things, as well as academic institutions, and maybe even lead out. Our HBCUs should have a large voice in terms of our own efforts to become more financially literate. Every civic organization, social organization, every fraternity and sorority should have at their professional conferences some element of financial literacy and a mandate within that space to go back to those communities after we've had a high time to really put this information in the hands of people in the community so that becomes really practical and really useful. And I think that when we really leverage those opportunities, it becomes very, very powerful. I'm a member of the 100 Black Men Greater Huntsville chapter, national organization. We have a financial literacy component. We partner with various organizations in our community so that our young men in 5th to 12th grade can really understand what money is and how money works, and that they have to be accountable to those things. I also serve on a regional advisory commission with the Cadence Bank Group that covers many regions here in the Southeast. And we meet twice a year, once virtually and then in person, talking about how can we make these opportunities available for people in marginalized communities and people who have not necessarily traditionally had access to these kinds of programs. And it's very important. I mean, we're talking about, down payment assistance programs where people don't have to give anything in order to be able to get a home in terms of a down payment. But a lot of people don't know about these very basic and fundamental things that can actually redirect them in terms of the pathway towards generational wealth and being able to really solidify that within their communities. And so I think those things are very important. Collaboration and education are the key.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting. I've always wondered, you go to like a mosque and stuff like that, they teach certain things. Every mosque you go to has a person who teach you how to box, how to kickbox, and how to shoot firearms. I wish our churches did that, but that's a whole nother separate story.
Hmm.
A lot of Jewish synagogues, everyone I've ever been to, they have some form of teaching financial literacy. And more importantly, just like we have Wednesday night Bible study or Friday night lights or Saturday or whatever, Sunday night, Sunday school, stuff like that. Every Jewish synagogue I've ever been to, they literally have a night of the week where every entrepreneur comes together and say, okay, you own a barber shop, you own a butcher shop, you own a shoemaking business, you own an IT company. How are we gonna make money together, people? Why don't we do that in our churches? Why don't we have every church in America, every black church in America should have a financial literacy? Now, I've always said this kind of stuff, and it's interesting because every time I go to any event, unfortunately, there, as black people at our churches where we are talking about having financial literacy, it's always a guy that gets up, and I don't want to bash him but they're giving absolute horrible financial advice. The kind of stuff that I'm like, this is terrible, but you don't want to kind of belittle or bash him in front of the rest of the quote unquote church. So I've always kind of wondered, like, how do we get, like you said, financial literacy talks into our churches, into our schools? And that's absolutely something that's an arm of financiation I ultimately want to take down the line. Something else, Dime, you said I love is dope as well. With the homeschool thing, my kids are not homeschooling. I don't know if we're going to do that. We might, we may not. We're still figuring that one out. But the other day, my son is 3, and I said, "Okay, Christopher, you just ended up playing basketball and boxing with Daddy, so I can give you a lollipop right now, or you can wait till 3 o'clock, which is like 6 hours later, and I can give you 2 lollipops. Which one do you want?" So I saw his little eyes start thinking one lollipop now or 2 lollipops later. And then he said, "All right, Daddy, I want 2 lollipops at 3 o'clock." He didn't know what 3 o'clock was, but he knew that if he waited, he would get 2 lollipops. And I use that example because I'm teaching Christopher delayed gratification. That's essentially an element of compounding interest. So right now he does not know that Daddy has a UTMA and a 529 form. He doesn't know that I got a business already set up for him, a brokerage account, but he understands lollipops. And to the parents that are listening, those are the little small things that you can do essentially as a father or as a mother to teach your kids the importance of financial literacy. Let's keep it moving because I want to be respectful of you guys' time. Diamond, let's start with you. What are 3 bits of financial, I would say, coaching you would give people who are listening to my channel? 3 bits of advice, I would say.
First of all, to come to you, 100%. You have, no, seriously, like you have so much knowledge. And the thing about business, it's so many different moving parts. So, and the second thing that I would say is, even when we say the word business and entrepreneurship, for people to understand where they fit in and to also be teachable. I think that's like the biggest thing. You have to be teachable. So I can be honest and say, like, when it comes to, I know the basics of investing and I have the basic accounts that you would name and everything else like that, but you have so much more knowledge in that sector. When it comes to business law, that is not my biggest sector, but it is very, very important that I learned. But when it comes to marketing, marketing is my thing. Psychology is my thing, and understanding people, understanding why people buy and getting people to purchase is my thing. And so I think that no, so number one, go to you. Number two, understand what lane you're in, and number three, collaborate with other people in different spaces, be teachable, put egos aside, and work with other people. So that's what I would give.
I love it. Thank you for that answer, Diamond. Dang girl, I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you. Kenny, let's go to you next, sir. What are three bits of financial literacy advice you would give people that are listening?
So the first
Financial
thing I
literacy
would say
coaching.
is, yeah, the first thing I would say is go to Christopher because he's going to be able to help you out and be able to provide you some good direction in the process. And in addition to that, I would say consistency matters. Play the long game. If you're trying to expect a quick return on the investment of whatever you're doing, you're probably selling yourself a little bit short. I always like to say, as many of you probably do too, your network is your net worth, and that if you don't know nobody, nobody's going to know you. If you don't go to things, if you don't venture out beyond the walls of your own comfort zone, if you feel siloed in terms of your business, to so many people either want to start a business or grow their business, and I don't see them anywhere. I don't ever see them come out to the social function, the meet and greet, the wine and cheese. I don't see them nowhere. It's like they're just not available, but they keep talking about, I want to grow my business. And I always tell people it's not so much about who you know, it's about who knows you. And so if you have a very cluttered and very ambitious community where lots of things are weighing upon your ability to be successful, how are you going to stand out in that process? You have to find ways to do that. And for me, showing up is part of that process. So consistency, playing a long game, networking, and then, of course, I think building your ability to communicate. Good communication skills is extremely important. You have to have something to talk about when people are willing to hear you.
I love it. I love it. So we could drop the mic with that answer, Kenny. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, DJ, how about yourself, fam? If you were giving three bits of financial coaching, what would you tell people who listen to my channel to make to basically build their generational wealth?
I feel as if Kenny and Diamond already said everything that needed to be said. But in addition to that, still reach out to Chris because he has profound information that's going to help you really build your wealth. Starting a budget, I think having a budget is really important because you don't know where you're going if you don't know where you're at, right?
Mm.
And I also agree with Kenny when he said that you have to go to an expert because you don't know what you don't know. You really don't know what you don't know. So go to experts, people who know more than you in a particular subject, in a particular area, because they're the ones that can be that can help you advance in certain areas.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love it. I love it. If I were to answer this question, I would say start investing now, not tomorrow, not the day after. Start investing tonight. Literally. If you don't know what to invest in, cool. I have a one, I can book a one-on-one study. Go to my website, www.therealfinanciation.com. Book a session with me, and I'll literally walk you through exactly how you should invest your money, where you should start, and I can walk through their process. So start investing now. Compounding interest is literally your best friend. It's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. So I'm gonna say that again. It's not about trying to time the market. It's about time in the market. So invest your money, start that ish right now. I would also say max out the three pillars. And by three pillars, I mean essentially max out your Roth IRA every year. That's $7,000 in 2026. Max out your 401k. That's $24,500 in 2026. And max out your HSA. That's $4,400 a year. If you're single, is $8,750 a year if you were married. And the reason why I say this is because all three of those accounts are essentially tax efficient accounts that are essentially going to allow you to lower your taxable income or pay your taxes today when they're historically low. And then you don't have to worry about paying tax hiked up essentially when we start getting serious about paying down our national debts. And the last bit of financial advice, you all three said it. Never stop learning, ever. And also realize that you can learn from anybody. I work with people who literally went to prison, and I learn stuff from these men and women every day. You can learn from anybody. Get those certifications, get those credentials, go back to college, get another degree if you want to go the blue collar, if you want to go the white collar route. Take a 6 week course essentially online that you find. Never stop learning and always be willing to essentially sharpen your belt, sharpen your tools, and get back into the game. Okay. All right. Readers are leaders. What are 2 books, Diamond, you would advise my listeners to read? Because at the end of the day, the average millionaire reads 50 books per year. The average American reads 1 book per year. Do the math. So, Diamond, ladies first. What are 2 books you would tell people to listen? You would tell people to read or listen to?
Ooh, that's a really good question. I love reading. I'm going to throw a spiritual one in there. I'm going to say it's the Jewish wisdom for financial success or something like that. But it just talks about how you can use biblical principles and how that community uses biblical principles and why they are so successful all the time because of the principles that they use that are literally right in the Bible and how you can apply those for our own success. And then the second one that I would say, ooh, that's a good question. I don't want to give a cliche like psychology and the psychology of money or Think and Grow Rich and things like that. You know what I'm gonna say? I'm gonna From Ink to Income by Diamond Chanel. That'll be the second
Yes,
book that I
yes.
put out there. There you
Absolutely. Absolutely.
go.
I
So
love it. I
yeah,
love it.
yeah, and you know the third one I would say it's not exactly a business book, but I think one that goes with that bridges off of what Kenny said about communication and learning how to speak and knowing what to talk about, and also what we talked about networking is like the art of seduction and just understanding like what could you do in certain spaces to I think make yourself more valuable, make yourself more influential, make yourself more likable, so that you can build that network as your network. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. DJ, how about yourself? What are 2 books you would advise my listeners to read? Because readers are truly leaders.
For me, I always want to go with my favorite, Rich Dad Poor Dad, because it teaches about assets and liabilities. Always a good go-to. And for the second, The Millionaire Next Door. It's going
Yeah.
to teach you real wealth tips, real wealth habits that you need to know. And I'm actually going to throw a bonus one in there that Diamond mentioned, kind of, as the Bible. I think we should also definitely dive into the Bible.
Absolutely. It teaches you at the end of the day what kind of individuals to avoid to keep the wealth you spent 50 years building. Absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Kenny, how about yourself, sir? What are 2 books you would advise my listeners to read?
There have been two books that I would say literally transformed my life when I came in contact with them. The first one is called 212, The Extra Degree by Sam Parker and Mac Anderson. It's a small book, only about 45, maybe 50 pages, but it is transformational. It basically just talks about the difference between 1 degree of effort, and it uses the analogy of 212 degrees being the temperature at which water boils and turns into steam. And so many people stop on their road to success at 211 degrees.
Hmm.
They're cooking, they're striving, they're near the top, and they just give up. And with that 1 degree of effort, people can experience amazing success. The other book that was transformational in my life is What Makes the Great Great? Strategies for Extraordinary Achievement by Dr. Dennis Kimbro, Kimbro. He basically talks about all of these amazing people who many people will not know who did extraordinary things in life with a small amount. And a lot of people know the story of Osceola McCarthy in Mississippi, the woman who cleaned clothes at the university down there for many, many years. When she died, she left $100,000 to the university. No one knew how she was able to amass that kind of money just making minimum wage. But it's a great case study of how people use money, and it doesn't take having a whole lot in order to make an impact in your life.
I love that. I love that. Powerful books. I've not heard of a few of these books that you guys have said, so I'm literally immediately going to throw them onto my reading list. If I were to answer this question, I'm going to start with one of my personal financial heroes, Jack Bogle, the little book of common sense investing. That guy breaks down financial concepts in a way that anyone can understand, and he was the owner. He's a guy who essentially started Vanguard, and the stuff he talks about is so applicable to anyone, regardless of any walk of life. Additionally, we are all people of color. I think in order to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. So 2 books I would recommend. One, They Came Before Columbus, because if you read that book, it's going to introduce you to the Mali Empire, Mansa Musa, and them kind of dudes. This was a guy who was literally worth 250 times more money than Elon Musk is worth today. Elon Musk right now is worth $800 billion. Mansa Musa was 250 times wealthier than that. And it talks about how this guy basically, his mentor literally was the first people to come to the Americas. In order to know where you're going, you got to know the greatness that you came from. And another book I want you to read is The Warmth of Other Suns, because in America today, we're dealing with police shootings, a lot of civil discord. We're dealing with isms, obviously. But The Warmth of Other Suns is a dope book because it talks about like what it was like and what black people had to deal with in the Jim Crow South, leaving Mississippi, seeing people get lynched, seeing people get hung. And these are people that are like in their 70s, and like my father's generation, and people are older than that. And it kind of tells you, okay, if my ancestors went through that ish, honestly, I think I can deal with the ignorant male I got to deal with at work, or the more moronic Latin guy I got to deal with at work, or some of the other isms we got to deal with. So it kind of puts life into perspective. And lastly, I'm gonna say, definitely subscribe to Financipation. One of my among other podcasts that I have is essentially 14 passive income streams that pay you 24/7. And in that podcast, you can look it up. I'll literally walk you through, regardless whether you make $15,000 a year, $25,000 a year, $100,000 a year, or $1 million a year, essentially how you can literally build astronomical generational wealth. And don't poo-poo everybody on the podcast, because you can literally get an MBA worth of knowledge on podcast if you're listening to the right ones. And mine, I believe, thank God, is one of the right ones. Okay. So yeah, in closing, this is the last thing I want to say because I want to be respectful of you guys' time. Last question to everybody that's on this panel: what do you want your legacy to be? Some of you guys are daughters, some of you guys are fathers, some of us are fathers, obviously some of us are men, and one of us is a lady. So when your time on earth is past and God calls you on, what do you want your legacy to be? Diamonds are forever. You first, Diamond. You first.
Oh, you keep throwing me first.
Hey, ladies first. Ladies first.
What do I want my legacy? Well, ultimately, I want my life to be a testament of the glory of God. I want to be able to
Amen.
leave something to my children. I want to have lived a joyful life, not a life without errors, not a life that didn't have up and downs, but a life that is joyful, a life that is secure for my family, and a life that glorifies God at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I love it. Concise, beautiful, and definitely it's real. What we do for Christ that lasts for generations. DJ, how about yourself? When God calls you home and your legacy on earth is past, what do you want your legacy to be, fam?
DJ was a provider. DJ was a leader. DJ really cared about his community. DJ passed down generational wealth to his family and his friends and his community. Um, and he walked a life that was pleasing to God.
Amen to that. Amen to that. And how about yourself, Kenny? When God calls you home and your legacy and your time on earth is past, what do you want your legacy to be?
Want my legacy to be that I served and that I served consistently and I served selflessly. I often ask the question and often pose the situation of life is finite. And the only question at the end of life should be, was the fact that I lived worth it? That I spent time thinking about people outside of myself, that I think about the ways in which I had been extraordinarily blessed, and that I used those gifts and talents for the glory of God. And
Amen.
that ultimately is what I want my legacy to be.
Amen.
I love it. I love it. If you read the Bible, you read the Quran, you read any major religious document, it essentially says men, we really only have technically four purposes on this planet: to protect, to provide, to be leaders, and to love our family. And when my legacy is passed, that's how I want people to say, I want my sons to say, Daddy loved us, Daddy protected us, Daddy provided for us, and Daddy was a leader. I want my wife to be able to say, I had a phenomenal husband, and I want Christ to be able to say, you were a good Christian, you were a good husband, you were a great Christian. If I can have that kind of legacy, the money, that's gonna come. That comes with it. But if I can have that, if that is my legacy, and I created something, financipation is one that I'm gonna be able to give to my boys and be able to give to my kids. And more important, it's going to educate the world on how to build generational wealth, how to financially emancipate yourself from poverty, and essentially how to be a contributor to society. Then I would say engineering, MBA, all that stuff is what it is. I would have basically given value to the world, and that would be my legacy. And I'm pretty cool with that legacy. I'm pretty cool with that legacy as well. So yeah, I want to say thank you guys to this podcast. This has been one of my favorite ones, and I can tell when it pops off, this is gonna be one of those ones that's gonna go do very well, just because the chemistry was great, and at the end of the day, we talked about a lot of just facts about how to essentially be contributors to our communities and how to essentially build generational wealth. So Diamond, thank you for coming on the channel. DJ, thank you for coming on once again. And Kenny, thank you for coming on. And definitely all three of us will be wrapping. Diamond, I love what you're doing in marketing. I need to talk to you more about that. Kenny, I love what you're doing as far as the guest speaker thing because I need to talk to you more about that. And honestly, DJ, I'm gonna talk to you about some stuff as well because I want to start learning a little bit more about taxes and things like that. I know a lot about it, but you have an interesting space as far as what you're doing with Mr. Tax Pro, and I love what you're doing. All three of you guys do. So lastly, let's give a shout out. Where can people find you? Because all three of you guys have businesses. All three, Diamond, I know you have you're a very powerful content creator. So where can people find you? DJ, let's start with you first. Where can people get in touch with you at?
On all platforms at Mr. Taxes Pro. And I definitely want to just thank you for just having us on, brother. You are very much of a powerful influence. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that. And Diamond, also, I want to connect with you because I think that you are doing really things in the space. Um, but on all platforms at Mr. Taxes Pro.
I love it. I love it. Kenny, how about yourself, sir? Where can people get in touch with you? I can get in touch with you as well.
Yeah, I'm on most platforms as well. I love LinkedIn and I love connecting with people there as well. I'm Kenneth Anderson there. I'm either Kenny Anderson or Kenneth Anderson on LinkedIn, as well as Facebook and Instagram and X. Also, my website is www.kennyanderson.org. That's kennyanderson.org.
I love it. I love it. And the diamond among the rose amongst the thorns. Yourself, Diamond. Where can people meet you at? How can people get in touch with you?
Yes, on all platforms, Diamond Chanel. So you guys can follow my YouTube channel or you can email me diamond.millennialmoney@gmail.com or go to my website, millennialmoneymaking.com.
Dope, dope. I'm about to drop a financial book, Diamond. I'm gonna talk to you about what's the best way about marketing that thing, okay? Because I'm gonna talk about these different stories, growing up in murder capitals and all kind of other crazy stuff, and how it led me to get financially literate, and just stories about how you can use that kind of stuff to just weave into knowledge that you know is about building generational wealth. So yeah. And lastly, if I were to go last, I would just say you can find me Financipation. My website is www.therealfinancipation.com. My Instagram is thereal_financipation. My Spotify is Financipation. My TikTok is Financipation. My Facebook page is Financipation. And check out my financial blog as well, Financipation, where I basically teach you how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, how to build generational wealth, and how to financially emancipate yourself from generational poverty. Thanks everybody for coming on. I really enjoyed this one, and I'll let you guys know when I'm gonna drop it and all that good stuff. So thanks everybody. Thanks for coming on. It's your boy Chris. I'm out. Peace. Peace.